We got a webinar tonight, obviously, and I'll be teaching holographic breathing and different aspects of holographic breathing, but I'll just speak for a while on things that are coming up, just giving people a chance to arrive. So I'm running a practitioner training. That's in 3 weeks' time. Seems to be a fair amount of interest in that, which I am pleased with. I did run some quite a while ago, my God, about 15 years ago, and I haven't really done any practitioner training since then. And I want to make it as user-friendly as possible. I've looked around the other practitioner trainings or breathwork ones. They seem incredibly expensive. And I've kind of gone to the other extreme, really. I mean, my paid-for webinars, from what I can see, are about half price of what other people charge. The practitioner trainings are more expensive, but again, they're vastly, vastly cheaper than what's on the market. I looked at a couple. I think Soma was £6,000, and a lot of them are like £3,000 or £4,000 for not a great deal from what I can see, and a lot of them are just offline with no kind of or little live interaction. So I'm going to do it in modules, 4 webinar modules, and after the first module you will be if you're coming and doing it, you will be accredited to teach holographic breathing. I think I was going to charge more. It was £240 I was going to charge for the 4 modules, and they're 4 hours each. And then even then I thought to bring it down a bit. So now as an early bird payment of £170, and in about 10 days it will go up to £190. I didn't charge what I was going to charge because it's new and it's an experiment. I don't really know what's going to happen. But in my being and bones, it has come time to teach people how to be practitioners and to teach holographic breathing for themselves. And when I teach in the webinars and in individual sessions, there is very clearly divine inspiration coming through. It is fed spiritually. And I think that is going to be part of the practitioner training. Now, I don't know how to connect people to that, but my guess is for people to teach holographic breathing, they will have to start coming in contact with their own channels, their higher self, their own divine inspiration. So I guess to one level or another, that is what's going to be going down in the therapist training. I will be teaching people how to teach, you know, obviously the first seminar and what we're doing today, how to actually teach holographic breathing and what's involved and what to look out for, etc. There will be space for people to practice. People will be able to give their emails if they wish, so everybody can contact each other and practice between the sessions. And I think it will be a potent endeavor. I think people will move along in their process quite strongly. You know, holographic breathing is a new form of breath work. It is original. From what I can see, it hasn't been done before. No one, a couple of people have come up and said, oh, I did that before, but when I've questioned them on it, actually, they hadn't. It seems, to the main part, to be a new modality in breath. So it's untapped. We don't really know the full depth of what is going to happen with it, but I've happily taught it and made a living from it for the last 25 years, mainly in individual sessions. And in that, it's not just I'm teaching holographic breathing and the dynamics of holographic breathing. It encompasses everything, whatever is unfolding in that person's healing journey. May be upset from different things in their life. There may be injuries, different organs not working well, the spine out of place, things with the brain, emotional upsets, childhood things, past life things, generational things, ancestral things, karmic things. That whole world comes up to be worked with. Now, I don't work in that way in webinars because obviously there's a whole array of people here, but when I'm working with just one person, then it's easy to delve into that. And this channel comes through that makes that available to be worked with and enables those things to be healed. So in one way or another, I'm going to be teaching that in the therapist training or imparting that in the therapist training. But there can be a certain amount of curriculum, but a lot of that just does not fit into a curriculum. You know, it will just be unfolding in the way that it goes. So that is open to anybody who has learned just the first stage of holographic breathing, the movement of the mouth with the breath and how that travels through the whole body, which I'll be teaching tonight. It is, I think the reason I needed 5 weeks off is I think holographic breathing may be starting to more just go down that line where I'm facilitating other people to be practitioners rather than me just putting out the work by myself. I will still do both, but I feel a strong pull, or that energy is coming through for that to be done, and I'm going to go with it. I didn't know how many people would be interested, but I'm pleased. A lot of people seem to be coming out of the woodwork and interested in that. So it's very inexpensive compared to what else is available. You can learn it live, in person, or just from the recordings. There will be, many people who from Australia. It's just not really possible with the time difference. So different people want to learn from the recordings, and or people can't make it to all of them. So you can learn from the recordings, and plus, there's different people's emails, so you can practice with the different people in between time and give each other feedback, etc. So that is there as a new beginning. I'm probably going to run another free webinar next Sunday, which will probably run on from this one, and then the Sunday after that there is the we're starting the fire energy webinar series. So that is what is unfolding, and we will just have to see how it goes with this practitioner training. I think it will be a good thing to be involved in, and I think it will move people more deeply into their process. You don't have to want to go out and be a practitioner. You don't have to take on clients or actually do it as a job or go out and teach people. You will be qualified to do that, but many people may just want it to go more deeply into their process, which I think will almost certainly happen. So that is there to be done. And I was talking to the guides before this, and there's something about talking tonight and channeling and just saying what's got to be said without being too worried about the consequences. I have a concern that everyone's going to leave and not want to work with me anymore. So quite often outrageous things don't get said, or I don't take it down a certain avenue because I feel like, well, that will be difficult, or I don't say something because I'm aware that people may not like it, or it may not be very, what do they call it, socially acceptable. So there's a certain potency just to allow myself to speak at the minute. And I think there is that I do want holographic breathing to be a worldwide, popular, known and used breathwork system. And I think it should be, looking at what's available and what people say to me who do holographic breathing. It should be a worldwide, valuable healing system. And I was talking a bit about how to bring that about. And they said, just speak uncensored. And for some reason, there's been, I've got a favourite YouTube person who I listen to on YouTube, and I ended up speaking to her in one of her open things, and we were talking about, I was just saying to her, she doesn't know she's channeling, but one of the things that inspires me to listen to her is that she seems to channel while she's talking. She's talking from kind of her inner being. And we were talking away, and I mentioned it somehow came to the surface that I'd been a sannyasin, which was with Osho, or Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh in the 70s and 80s and a bit of the 90s. And I remember that with him when I first started getting involved with Osho and listening to his lectures and doing the meditations. And I'd listen to his lectures, I'd say, no, don't say that, no one will come back. It will put everybody off. But he just said whatever was there, and it was quite, a lot of it was quite indigestible. And I think there's a certain amount of courage just to let it be how it is to be. And she wants to do some kind of YouTube streams together with me and talk about Osho and what happened, because from the outside quite often that was viewed as a cult or something like that. For me he's an enlightened teacher. I've forgotten what I'm talking about. Yeah, oh, I know. There is a consensus, you know, there's a global structure that is often interweaved into different religions. Like in the West, even if you are not a Christian, somehow the social dialogue and format is interwoven with that whole energy and how you should be and dogma. And then in different parts of the world, Sikh, Muslim, Taoist, or whatever all of these different religions are. And I think if you just start speaking how it is, it breaks free from that social cohesion to a network or matrix. That's it, that film The Matrix, where they came out of the matrix. We're going to come out of the matrix. Saying all of this, I can see why no one really wants to be involved. Who would? So I think that is there as a background tonight, because to move into the new era, we have to break free of what we are unconsciously attached to and don't know that we're attached to. And a lot of that are the matrices of society and what they are formed around. It's giving me a headache just talking about this. So we will be doing that, and it's interesting, quite a few different, now they're called cults. I don't know if they're really nasty people or good people, but quite a few communities, different teachers from them have been prosecuted in the last year. And maybe, from what I can see, many of them hardly did anything, but they get sentences like 30 years or life for what seems like tiny things. And I think a lot of that is that they're being tried for what they belong to rather than what they have done. Now, I'm not saying these people are not guilty of the different things, but there's something in that whole format coming to the surface in my psyche at the minute, and like it or not, you have to do what I'm going to go through. I talk about what's going on for me, and that somehow works through in the sessions and evolves for everyone. Okay, so I've talked long enough to let everybody, I think, who's going to get here. All right, so what we're going to do tonight, other than me putting everybody off so they don't want to come again, what we're going to do tonight, I will teach holographic breathing. We will be, I will describe first of all a little bit, I will describe quickly holographic breathing. We'll go into it in more detail later. For the new people, in holographic breathing, the lips are closed, the breath is through the nose, the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, the upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, and then on the in-breath, very gently the jaw opens, and on the out-breath, the jaw closes, just a small amount. The lips stay closed all of the time, and the tongue stays on the roof mouth. So that movement is happening with the lips closed and the tongue on the roof mouth. Now, I don't advise you to start trying to do that straight away because it's counterintuitive, but you can just have your lips closed and get used to having your tongue on the roof of the mouth, and then we'll be doing a guided meditation to take that, get that going and become a natural form of breathing that just opens with the whole movement of the breath through the whole body. All right, so I'll be teaching holographic breathing. So there's this movement of the mouth, this spreads through the face, through the brain, through the cranium, through the whole body. And then I'll be teaching a movement of the hands and feet, an opening, closing of the hands and feet that connects to this whole motion that's spreading through the body. Again, I will go into that in more depth when we're coming up to the meditation. And this will give a whole body breathing. It is a new mode of breathing, and this will give a whole body breathing, motion and energetic thing going on. And then we will be working with the different levels of energy. There's a particular level of energy when the feet and legs start breathing that rises through the bones, through the diaphragm, through the brain. It has a particular and very grounded quality. And we'll be working with the energies of the hands and arms, which is more entering through the diaphragm, heart and lungs, and then up through the face and brain. And this has more of a heartfelt energy and emotional energy. And then we'll be looking at the energy that's being created by this gentle, continual motion of the mouth, which spreads through the face and cranium and has a higher quality of energy and opens up through the intellect, through the brain and to the higher self. And when it's a bit like the hara, the heart and the brain and intellect, and when they all come into alignment and together, this opens the crown chakra and you move into transcendence. So we will be working with that as a general principle and those different energies. And also what I spoke about in the newsletter was craniofacial breathing, how holographic breathing opens the whole skull so all of the bones start breathing of the face and cranium. Now, unfortunately, getting ready for this webinar, I broke the spine. There's the spine. Its central pivot, about 2 minutes before the webinar, the central pivot fell out, so I haven't got a spine to demonstrate this on, but I can show it in the skull. So here we have it. All the colours in this skull are the different energy systems that we work with in the advanced webinars, where we take this into far more depth. And a lot of people, because holographic breathing, when I teach it, there's this movement of the jaw. People think, oh, the movement of the jaw is creating this breath. That is not accurate. You start off with a movement of the jaw, but actually it's a whole movement of the mouth, a movement of the tongue, and then it moves through the whole cranium and whole body. And in the end, you've got this whole movement through everything, and rather than the jaw orchestrating that, that is orchestrating the jaw. It's all just moving together. And there's a specific energy and feel to working with the jaw, but there's quite a lot now. There's a magnet in it, and I'll hopefully be able to open and close it without pulling the whole face off. Now, obviously, the jaw can open and close and move easily, even though the lips are closed and the tongue. There's a lot of elasticity and movement there, and that does move through the whole face and cranium and part of this whole breathing. And what I want to point to is, I've talked about the 3 levels of energy through the body, but I will also talk about them in the face. Now, notice the jaw is lower than the cranium, so the hara, or the lowest part of the face, the jaw, is actually below the cranium, and the whole face is a slightly lower type of energy. So the 3 energies are dropped down, so the jaw is below the cranium, but the roof of the mouth, which is what we're going to be working with, we will work a bit with the jaw. Notice how the roof of the mouth is actually exactly in line with the whole cranial base here. They're matched, so you get the center of the face, the heart and lungs for the face, and diaphragm for the face. The diaphragm for the face is the roof of the mouth. Sinuses and nasal passageways are more the heart and lungs. They're relating to the lower cranium, which is more the hara for the cranium. And then the eyes, which are the higher energies for the face, they're relating to the middle, the heart of the cranium. And then I'll take the face off now. The higher cranium and the higher energies for the cranium is above the face, but you've got those 3 energies. I'm going to stick it back on. I do need it. Hang on, go back on. So when I talk about moving of the jaw in holographic breathing, if people haven't been taught the fundamentals, they think that the jaw for holographic breathing is being moved by these muscles above the jaw. That is not true. The jaw and the muscles in the breath are relaxing on the out breath, and the jaw relaxes back up. The tightening of the muscles comes from below. The muscles of the ribs are lifting to the cranium, and also from the top of the sternum You get two muscles coming up to the hyoid, coming up to the front and to the front of the jaw and the underside of the cranium. As that tightens on the in-breath, if you allow yourself to relax, bring the jaw down on the in-breath. It will relax. So the tightening is happening on the in-breath. The tightening is happening below the jaw like a yawn, drawing the jaw open. The muscles are relaxing on the out-breath. So there's a muscular connection to the jaw. The connection to the roof of the mouth, which more relates to the diaphragm, is through the tongue. And in holographic breathing, it utilizes this suckling. Holographic breathing is like a subtle form of suckling, and the baby's tongue suctions itself to the nipple and the roof of the mouth. And naturally, in holographic breathing, the tongue suctions itself to the roof of the mouth, and even though it's being pulled down on the in-breath, it stays connected to the roof of the mouth. And the tongue isn't just pulling down on its own. You have the diaphragm under the ribs. The diaphragm drops. Top of the diaphragm, you've got the lungs, you've got the heart, you've got the esophagus, which goes through the diaphragm to the stomach. That all comes down. And then at the front, you've got the trachea, it's going into the lungs. You've got the esophagus, that is going through the diaphragm. To one extent or another, as the diaphragm drops, this will be dropping as well. And if you allow that to happen, that will pull down the hyoid bone. Now the jaw is also attached to the hyoid bone, so the jaw drops. But what is majorly attached to the hyoid bone is that the whole tongue forms out of that and connects the roof of the mouth. So there's a pull down from the diaphragm under the ribs to the diaphragm of the face, and they're both dropping and flattening, rising and doming. So you get the whole face, you get this diaphragm in the center of the face breathing at the same as the diaphragm under the ribs. Now I knock people out when I talk. Just a lot of information and people start passing out. If you pass out, it's okay. You don't have to remember anything I say, and when I listen to it, quite often I pass out, but there's an intelligence that comes through when I'm teaching. So you can say, I don't need all this intellectual information. It's kind of nice, but also you can go into a mode where you just let whatever I'm saying go through you, because what I speak away and say whatever I'm saying, but there's also an energy that starts activating through people's brains, and that is what's knocking people out. When I am editing my stuff, I just feel it, the brain cells start breathing, or whatever the channels are behind holographic breathing. They're bringing people's brains and intellect to consciousness. And when your brain and intellect, it's the same as the mind, it brings that whole arena to consciousness, and that is why people pass out. So you can just let an energy travel through your brain. Doesn't matter two figs if you understand what I'm describing or not. We're going to do it in the meditation, as long as you get a experiential experience of it. It doesn't really matter, then you'll understand it anyway. But I've tried running these without me talking to start off with, and it doesn't work somehow. You just have to allow me to nadder and get everything off my chest that I need to get off my chest, and then somehow then the meditations work. You know, you can pass in and out, but there is something of value other than the intellectual side of what I'm talking about. There's something of value going on that I can't even say what it's about or what's happening, but it is to do with people's evolution into a new state of consciousness and a new era. That's all. And it may feel uncomfortable. You may float in and out. You may not understand what I'm talking about, but that's all okay. You don't have to try. You don't have to fight it. There's something available here which isn't me. It's someone else. Blame them. So from the roof of the mouth, you get this connection to the organs through the tongue and the roof of the mouth. That gives you a connection to the diaphragm and the organs. Now, if you think about it, you see these two condyles here. Trying to do this and keep the face on. You've got two condyles there. That's where the spine is sitting. So the spine is sitting here. The diaphragm is pulling down here. You've got the diaphragm pulling down. You've got the esophagus coming up and joining to the hyoid bone. That is pulling down the hyoid bone. See, just when I need it, the hyoid bone is, I'm going to put it back on. 1 minute, let me get the face back on. So, and that pulls the hyoid bone down, that pulls the tongue down, that pulls the roof of the mouth down. So you've got this whole pulling through the face. Now, if it was just that, it would just breathe in, breathe out. It would just rotate around the spine. The diaphragm pulling down on the roof, just do this, breathing in, breathing out. But it's being balanced by all of the muscles coming up to the back of the head. They're all pulling down on the in-breath and balancing front to back and side to side. The body with the breath is continually balancing front and back of the cranium. Now this isn't our normal breath, you know, this is just holographic breathing. This doesn't happen in this way in your normal breath. Holographic breathing is an incredible thing, and it's about time the world started to understand that. It's a breath work that isn't involved, that isn't the same as other breath works, and does things that other breath works or the normal breath doesn't. And it creates all of the bones of the cranium moving and opening and closing with every breath. You can do your own cranial sacral sessions with holographic breathing. So it's all being pulled down on the in-breath, and all, because it's being pulled down onto the spine, all of the bones are opening in different directions on the in-breath. And then as it all, the muscles beneath it relax on the out-breath and it's rising, they're all shifting back into their original position. So there's a stress on the in-breath that is opening these bones in all sorts of different directions. And then all of that relaxes and they move back to their original position on the out-breath. And that creates a breath through the cranium, through the brain. Now with the jaw, there's a lot of elasticity. So when you feel it in the jaw, it's just opening. But the roof of the mouth is more solid. The cranium is more solid. So when you feel it through the roof and mouth, you're working with the jaw and there's this elasticity. Then you feel it and it's like a boomp. It's like, oh my God, it's pulling down onto this solid thing. But if you wait and work with that and allow it to relax, then slowly you feel all of the bones of the face starting to breathe, all of the bones of the cranium starting to breathe. You will also, which is counterintuitive to how most people would experience it, the tightening of all of the muscles below are pulling it down towards the body. So, and what you get is the whole spine shortening on the in-breath, and everything expands to the sides. The whole spine lengthening. See, people want everything to open on the in-breath, but everything doesn't just open on the in-breath. The lungs can open in all directions on the in-breath. The skull can't. Some bones will open sideways. That means other bones, top to bottom, it shrinks top to bottom on the in-breath. There's different areas shrinking back to front, and it expands to the side. It's like a balloon. For it to open one way, it has to shrink in a different direction. But all of these bones, from being a fixture, become a movement. The brain starts to breathe. The brain starts to become alive. And we move from, here we go, see, we move from one environment which we've lived in our whole lives and is part of society. We move in from an environment where, with the breath, that may be breathing a bit, to environment where your whole cranium is viscerally breathing all of the time. The brain is viscerally breathing. And that brings you into a new life. That brings you into a new way of being, because that may have been happening a bit, but not to that extent. So it brings in, for me, new health. There's possibilities that we know nothing about in this. There's possibilities of a new man and woman kind. A new mode of breath brings the possibility of a new mode and health of man and womankind. The only other thing I'll mention in that, because the lower part and back of the cranium is the lower energies, it's much more to do with the pelvic diaphragm. Roof and mouth is more to do with the diaphragm under the lungs. So we'll be working more with the pelvic diaphragm and relating it more to the cranial base and back of the head. We'll more be working with the diaphragm under the lungs to work with the roof mouth. So that is what we're going to do in this webinar. I think that is that on the explanation of what we're going to do. And I will describe how to do holographic breathing, and I'll demonstrate holographic breathing, and I will describe the movement of the hands and feet. We'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll do the guided meditation where we'll just unfold all of that in whatever way it wants to go. So, as I said, with holographic breathing, the lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is on the roof mouth. Now, it's not the tip of the tongue, it's the upper surface of the tongue. And it's as much as feels comfortable. So it may be ½ an inch, it may be an inch, the whole tongue may be on the roof mouth. But definitely to start off with, you don't want to put more of the tongue on the roof and mouth than feels comfortable. As much as feels comfortable. The longer you do holographic breathing, the more of the tongue will rise up onto the roof of the mouth till the whole thing just suctions to the whole roof of the mouth, kind of permanently. But to start off with, you definitely don't want to rush that process. The main thing is it's just comfortable, but it's the upper surface, not the tip. The tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth. So that is the position of the tongue. The lips are relaxed and closed. The breath is through the nose. And then in the guided meditation, I'll take you into the breathing motion of the jaw. On the in-breath, gently open. It's kind of that amount, 1/4 of an inch, 3 or 4 millimeters. Not a big movement. It's just the effect of how the body is breathing through the hyoid bone. It's just, if you allow that movement of the trachea and the hyoid bone, it will just open the jaw very slightly, and then on the out breath, as the diaphragm rises and this all rises, the jaw will just very lightly move back together. So it starts off, we start off by doing that as an exercise, but at a certain point it will just align with the diaphragm, with the muscles of the breath, and we're removing something, we're removing a block so that it just naturally moves with the breath rather than holding. And once you get used to that, that is kind of in the background. If you practice holographic breathing, it will turn something round. I think it gets flipped the other way. I think the jaw wants to move the other way when you're just breathing through the nose. But it turns something round, it gets people in, and that is just there in the background all of the time at a very gentle motion. So we'll do that in the meditation. I'm going to demonstrate it just so that you can see it. And don't worry if you miss bits, because I will be saying everything in the guided meditation. You don't have to understand it. I'll be taking you 100% through it. So I'll just demonstrate it. One, so you can see that the lips do stay closed. Also see that the movement of the jaw is very subtle. You probably won't even be able to see the movement, but also you'll see it's very meditative. It's not one of these vigorous breathing, stop type things. It's just incredibly relaxing, energetic, spiritual breathing. So I'll just demonstrate it for 3 or 4 breaths. And it very, very quickly becomes deeply, at least when you know how to do it, very quickly becomes deeply relaxing, transcendental. I just move into a completely different place. You probably can notice I'm already speaking a lot more slowly. It just brings you into a whole healing parameter very, very quickly. And when I talk about other breath work, as I did just then, I'm not putting it down in any way. I'm just saying it's not the same. It's not the same as a lot of breath works around at the minute. And I, have done and occasionally do other type of breath works. I'm not against them. I think they're great, beneficial, healthy, wonderful things. But also holographic breathing is also great, wonderful, beneficial thing. but I'm just pointing out there is a difference. So that hands and feet is a foot. The breathing motion of the foot, it's the same as the diaphragm. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. See, it flattens on the in-breath, breathing in, same as the diaphragm, dropping, breathing out. Now you're not pulling it into a cup position, it's more just relaxing, breathe, or pulling, breathing in, and then relaxing. Pulling, breathing in, and then relaxing. And we'll be starting off by just flapping it, so the muscles at the front of the leg, breathing in, relaxing, breathing out. Breathing in, they're pulling the foot up, relaxing it, breathing out. Then we'll connect the muscles at the back of the leg, so it's pulling up from the heel, so rather than it flapping up, it will pull up both ways, so the foot will just flatten, breathing in, relax, breathing out. Flatten, breathing in, relax, breathing out. Flatten, breathing in, relax, breathing out. Again, I will describe it as we're doing it, plus in a couple of days you'll get the video, so you can go over everything in the video. You can go over the meditation, you can listen to the talk it has. Same thing, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And it's good when we come to the hands and feet to lie down, because you want your arms and legs stretched out, or at least be in a position where they're stretched out. If you are new, the learning of holographic breathing, the first 10 minutes where I'm teaching you and we're going through the different stages of it, do that sitting up, or do it sitting up. I would advise to do that sitting up, because my voice becomes much slower. I start channeling more strongly. People can easily just pass out before they've learned the holographic breathing, and you're less likely to do that if you're sitting up. Once it's working, once it's going, once you have the experience of holographic breathing, then it doesn't matter if you pass out and come back in, because you've learnt it. But if you pass out before you've learnt it, then in a way, I can't say you've wasted the webinar, but you haven't learned holographic breathing, and it's not going to work in the same way. You can't half do holographic breathing, or 3/4 do holographic breathing, or 99% do holographic breathing. You have to 100% doing holographic breathing, or it's not working. So you have to get to that place where it's all aligned, suddenly starts working with the breath, and then it's like an initiation, it just starts going on its own, and you have to get to that point where it ignites and becomes a new mode of breathing for you. And if you're new and all you do tonight is get to that point where holographic breathing starts, that's really the important bit, because then you've got it forever. You can just practice that whenever you want and have the facility to drop into a deep and healing state very quickly with the breath. What holographic breathing does offer is an integrated physical, emotional, intellectual and spiritual evolution. You will have access to that and be able to go on your own journeys. Now, asked a question, and oh, she is there. Okay. Is that per module? Yeah. It's at the minute it's £170 for 4 webinars. Each webinar is 4 hours, so that's 16 hours for 107. So it works out about £10 an hour, which I think is incredibly, incredibly cheap. I mean, most webinars on that inexpensive. I mean, you guys want to watch out a bit. I might put my prices up to what everybody else is charging at some point. You know, get it while it's here and cheap. I don't think I will, not at least in the foreseeable future, because I do want this to be available. But do be aware, I really do teach. One, I do a lot of free webinars, which aren't, just because they're free, it doesn't mean they're not potent and I'm not teaching something substantial. And two, the advanced webinars, if you pay for the whole 4 or 5 week course, it normally works out at £9 a webinar. So 2-hour webinars, it's just £4.50 an hour. That is incredibly, you know, I look around at webinars, they're 15, 20, 25 pounds an hour. So, and I guess there are other people that do it less expensive, but there's a lot of free webinars at the minute, very inexpensive to do the advanced webinar. The practitioner training, I'm doing, it's at an early bird thing at the minute, good to get on before it goes up to 190 quid. But even then, it's phenomenally cheap. And I'm just giving away my life's work. And I am the only one. I am the founder. I am the founder of holographic breathing. Well, maybe spiritual energies and the channels are the founder. But I was the one whose radar was open to them, I guess. I have to really acknowledge, maybe it was something to do with Diraj, my healing teacher, maybe it was something to do with Osho. I think there's a lot of Tibetan, there's their guides as well, and a lot of somehow Tibetan influence, or just something beyond, you know, just spiritual energies. There is a spiritual entourage that is wanting this to come through. And I think that is one of the reasons it isn't just opening very quickly. I think it just has a natural and spiritual speed of evolution. And also it may just be for a family. There may be a certain amount of people who've worked together in past lives, or it was part of a particular school, and maybe just those people. You know, it may be one of these things that is just for certain people, you know, who knows? I mean, Diraj was the most incredible, profound healer, but it didn't get huge, didn't get a massive healing school. But then again, it was quite strong for most people, including me. Anyway, I'm going to stop wittering on and do as I promised and teach you how to do holographic breathing. Okay, gently dropping into the holographic. If you've done holographic breathing, dropping into the holographic breathing. If you haven't done holographic breathing, it's good to be seated for the first part. Don't do it lying down. If you don't know, you can lie down. I'll say at a certain point it's okay to lie down now. But if you're first time and if you're earnest to make sure you learn it, it's advisable to be sitting up for the first part. If you haven't done holographic breathing, just relaxing your breath and breathing softly and naturally. Okay, and strong energy already coming in. Breathing naturally and easily, we're going to bring in some resources, sending a smile to the earth, sending some energy to the earth. and allowing the earth to say hello back. Notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies. Sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and the beneficial energies. The beneficial energies, any divine energies, divine beings, teachers. That you wish to work with, as long as they are beneficial. You want beneficial energies. Sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and the beneficial energies, and allowing the higher self and the beneficial energies to say hello back. Notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies, and asking the earth, the higher self and the beneficial energies to be with you through the whole webinar as a healing presence, your resource and your guide. Okay, now we're going to start moving into the holographic breathing. Just having the lips relaxed and closed, having the tongue on the roof of the mouth. The tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth. The upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. And as much as feels comfortable, maybe half an inch, a whole inch, whatever's comfortable, the tip of the tongue close to or touching the front teeth, the upper surface of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, breathing through the nose. Just become used to the lips being relaxed and closed, the tongue being on the roof of the mouth. Now, keeping the lips closed, the lips don't open and close, the breath stays through the nose, so keeping the lips closed and gently opening and closing the jaw. So the lips stay closed, the jaw moves. We do this every day when we're eating. We move the jaw and the lips stay closed. Now a small motion of the jaw, just up and down. You can bounce it up and down. Just get used to, you can move your jaw and the lips can stay closed, relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head, relaxing the whole body. And slowing that motion down, slowing the motion of the jaw down. And now, as the jaw is slowly opening, allowing the breath to come in through the nose. So we're going to have the emphasis on the jaw to start off with. So as the jaw is gently opening, allowing the breath to come in through the nose. As the jaw is gently closing, allowing the breath to leave through the nose. Notice it feels a bit like a bellows. As the jaw is relaxing open, it draws the breath in through the nose, and as the jaw is relaxing closed, exhales the breath through the nose. Relax the back of the neck, relax the back of the head. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. The lips stay closed all of the time, and it can just be a really small motion of the jaw, but it is actually moving. You have to make sure your jaw is actually moving. So as the jaw is relaxing open, the breath comes in through the nose, and as the jaw is relaxing closed, the breath leaves through the nose. Just becoming used to this quite physical motion of the jaw, bringing the breath in, exhaling the breath out. The lips stay closed all of the time. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. Now we're going to change the emphasis of that, bringing the emphasis to the breath coming in through the nose. You're breathing in, breath comes in through the nose and the jaw relaxes open. So now we're moving the attention from the jaw to the breath. We breathe in through the nose, the jaw naturally relaxes open. As you breathe out through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed. Relax the back of the neck, relax the back of the head. So breathing in through the nose, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed. Notice how meditative it becomes, how the jaw just gets into this motion and just moves with the breath. Breathing in, the lungs are opening, the jaw naturally opens with them. The jaw just aligns with the muscles of the breath. As the chest is closing, the jaw closes. Breathing in, the chest is opening, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, chest is closing, the jaw relaxes closed. The lips stay closed all of the time. The tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time, relaxed, slow breath, small motion of the jaw, just natural motion of the jaw with the breath. As the abdomen opens, dropping down into your abdomen, the abdomen opens, the jaw opens. As the abdomen closes, the jaw closes. Relax the neck, relax the back of the head, relax the brain, relax the face and the whole body. As you breathe, notice in a very subtle way your whole face and cranium and brain and neck have started to breathe. A whole new modality of breath work has started. Notice how nourishing it feels. Notice how it feels like every cell is opening on the in-breath and every cell is closing on the out-breath. Relax the back of the neck, relax the whole body. Notice how it feels like the arms and legs have started to breathe, the hands and feet have started to breathe. It's as if every cell is opening on the in-breath and every cell is closing on the out-breath. And then become aware of your feet. If you're new and holographic breathing is just naturally going, it's okay to lie down at this point, or at least have your arms and legs stretched out so they're kind of straight. And start off by flapping the feet. So as you breathe in, it's like the toes are pulling up. As you breathe out, the toes are dropping down. Breathing in, the toes are rising, foot is rising. Breathing out, the toes are dropping, the foot is dropping. Notice how it connects right up through the whole front of the body. Connects to the diaphragm and the whole breath. So as the front of the foot pulls up, connects to the muscles of the breath through the whole front of the body. Breathing out, you relax down. Then become aware of the heels and the back of the leg. So it's pulling up at the front and at the back. And the foot flattens on the in-breath. Rather than it flapping up, it flattens as you breathe in. Relaxes and slightly cups as you breathe out. Notice how the heels are giving you access to the whole back of your body and the back of your head. Get a deep, long, slow breath through the diaphragms. Breathing out, the foot is flapping or flattening. Breathing out, it's cupping. Get a long, much deeper, slower breath, long, deep breaths through the abdomen and diaphragm. Also, you have to be aware it will work up through your brain and your brain cells will start to breathe. Allow your brain cells to breathe. Long, slow breaths, and you can now include the hands. So you can flap the hands to start off with, breathing in. So the hands and feet opening together, hands and feet relaxing together. Notice how this comes in at a different level, works through the chest, the neck, and directly into the head. More relates to the heart and the much lighter energy. And then also be aware of the heels of the hands, so it's rising up the back of the arms and the front of the arms. Basically, the arms and legs are tightening, the hands and feet are flattening. You get this long, slow, new mode of breathing through the whole body. On the out breath, the arms and legs relax, the hands and feet cup, slow, long out breath through the body. And notice how they connect to the jaw. As they're opening, notice how this synchronizes with the jaw. It connects to the muscles opening the jaw. Connects into the diaphragm, diaphragm opens the jaw. Breathing out, all of the muscles relax, the jaw relaxes, close, the hands and feet gently cup. Letting that long, slow breath move through your body. Allow it to connect through the brain. A lot of this passing out and going to sleep is that you move into a dream state. And rather than going into a dream state and falling asleep, allow yourself to go into a dream state and stay conscious. You have to become, and that will bring a new awareness to your brain. Allow the energies to move through your brain, and rather than passing out, just be aware of that new consciousness through your brain. And then let the hands stop and just become aware of the feet. Notice how physical it is through the legs and through the feet, and how it connects to your pelvis, and much more grounded, deep, slow energies. It relates to the bones. The feet and legs relate to the bones and the spine, the cranium, the bones of the face, and it relates to the bones of the brain cells. It relates into the brain cells. They all have bones and movement. So it relates to a very physical motion of the brain. You have to relax your neck. It will work into the cervical vertebrae of the neck. Then let the feet stop and let the hands start, just doing the hands. Notice how the hands more connect directly to the ribs and diaphragm. How the heels of the hands relate to the shoulder blades. And it's much lighter. It's not the same as the legs. More to do the heart. It's much lighter. Allowing that heart energy. It's hard not to do the legs and just do the hands, but if you do that, you cannot isolate this very hearty energy, how it connects into the body. Letting the hands slowly stop and letting the feet start. Can you feel yourself dropping into the bones and this much more physical energy moving through your body? Notice how different that feels, how grounded that feels. And again, this will work through the neck and it will work through the brain. And to stay awake, you have to allow the brain to breathe, and you have to allow the dream state, but be aware. Be aware of how the dream state is working through your brain cells. You're bringing your sleep state to consciousness. Notice this much more physical motion through the feet and legs and how it's moving through the bones, the face, cranium and brain. And then bringing in the hands as well, and you get the heart and the hara breathing together. Get a much deeper, fuller breath. Notice how deeply you breathe. Even though the arms and legs and hands and feet are tensing, you get this long, slow, expanded breath. It's not your normal breath, it just goes much more slowly. But if you let it, if you keep the arms and legs stressed, you'll just keep filling and filling and filling and filling. Then as you relax them, you just empty and empty and empty. Big, slow breath. It's good to have the chin slightly down so that the neck is straight, and let the energies and movements go through your brain and skull. Then let the arms and legs stop. And just being aware of the movement through the face, through the jaw, through the mouth. But also sit back into the back of the head. It's the whole cranium. Notice this is a different energy. This is interacting directly through the brain and to the higher self. Notice how it's a much higher, quality of energy just with the movement of the face and cranium and this light motion of the jaw. Relax the neck, relax the whole face. Notice it rising through the eyes, through the brain, through the cranium. Relax the neck. Much higher energy connecting to the higher self. And then this descends in the body. It drops down through the spine, through the chest, through the arms and legs. So this starts off high and then grounds down through the arms and legs and whole body. So the face, the mouth, the jaw have a much higher, more transcendental energy that relates into the nervous system, the brain, and the connection to the higher self. Again, important to keep the neck relaxed and letting the energies drop down through the spine. Notice the different energies, the 3 different energies of the arms, legs, and jaw, how they relate to different energies, how these 3 energies are in the face and cranium, like the mouth and the lower cranium. This is the energies of the lower body, the pelvis and the legs. Notice how it's much more physical, the jaw and the lower back of the head. Connects to the neck. Rising up into the nasal passageways and sinuses and the middle of the cranium. And the brain and the cranial fluid and the fluid. Notice you've moved up a level and it's got much higher. More in contact with the brain than the bones of the brain and the fluids and the cranial sea in the brain. Then if you move up into the eyes, the ethmoid between the eyes, the top of the cranium, this is the brain for the face and cranium. This is the higher energies. This is the intellect for the face and cranium. You can feel that happening in the neck, in the top of the neck as well. Feel this much higher, brighter energy. Feeling the whole face breathing now, the whole cranium breathing, the whole neck breathing. Let the hands and feet join in, the whole body breathing, the deep lower energies, the heart energies, the brain and intellectual energies, the higher self and divine energies all breathing together, and the earth also joining in a whole profound, deep breathing. Now becoming aware of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Rather than becoming aware of the jaw pulling down, becoming aware of how when the diaphragm drops, this is connecting to the tongue and the roof of the mouth, and it's pulling the tongue and the roof of the mouth down on the in-breath. So the roof of the mouth is gently dropping and opening. Breathing out as the diaphragm rises, the tongue and the roof of the mouth rise and dome. The roof of the mouth is dropping and flattening with the diaphragm and the hands and feet. The roof of the mouth is rising and doming with the diaphragm and the hands and feet. And this balances at the back of the head, so the diaphragm is pulling the face down, back of the head, the muscles connecting from the neck and the back of the body to the back of the head. This is balancing front to back through the skull, through the craniofacial complex. So the whole skull and neck is kind of pulling down on the in-breath. The whole spine is kind of shortening. This kind of long yawn is tightening the muscles, and they're all pulling down, back and front and sides, connecting into the arms and legs. Breathing out, they're all rising and the spine is lengthening. Notice how this opens all of the bones of the face and cranium as you breathe in. As this all pivots on the spine, all of the bones of the face and cranium open as you breathe in. Rather than staying solid, when you become aware of the roof of the mouth and the more physical structures of the face and cranium, they all gently open as you breathe in. They're all pulling down onto the spine, and this gentle pressure opens all of the bones. It's not just pressing on that top vertebrae, it's like a spring, it's through the whole spine. Breathing out, it's all relaxing, and all of those bones gently rotate back to their position. Notice how the back of the head and the cranial base relate to the pelvic floor, and the whole pelvic diaphragm right up inside the whole of the pelvis. So it's not just the flat bottom of the pelvis floor, it rises up like a cup inside the whole pelvis. How the cranial base relates to the pelvic floor, how the roof of the mouth connects the diaphragm, so you can get like the pelvic floor and the diaphragm in the face. And the pelvic floor they're the same level. The cranial base at the same level as the roof of the mouth, and they're both opening together, closing together, so you get the pelvic floor and the diaphragm opening and closing, the face and cranium opening and closing. Relax your neck, relax your whole body. There's a tension through the spine as you breathe in. You need the chin slightly down, so it's like the pointed part, the back of the head where the baby is coming through the birth canal. This is straight, so the spine is straight, so that it can take this extra load. Breathing out, it all relaxes. This is the way the baby breathes in the womb. The body is breathing in the same way as we move and form in the womb. We're going back to that core essence of the breath. You have to let your brain breathe, you have to let your skull breathe, you have to let your neck and spine breathe. Long, slow, gentle breaths. If you pass out, it's okay, but you can watch, rather than passing out, you can also just watch that dream state. Okay, we're going to come back in about a minute. Okay, sending a thank you to the earth. Thank you to the higher self and beneficial energies. Thanking yourself for participating and allowing the energies to go off for love and healing to the earth, for love and healing to the higher self and beneficial energies. Allowing yourself to be loved and healed. Letting the energies go out to all sentient beings for love and healing. And you are a sentient being, allowing yourself to be loved and healed. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back. Wow.